Today, a new AW showcase just dropped, this one in the form of Decay and Sugar Pill, so the previous war tactic before Coda, and my team for this is going to be mostly the same. I'm using Count Nefaria, Spiral, and Serpent for both paths, and then I have a different champion for the 4th slot on each path. But we're going to start today against this Spiral on what would be node 36. We have Hazard Shift, Bleed and Incinerate, and One Eye Open. The reason that Spiral is really on here is because you have to find a way to fight her without parrying her, and that becomes a bit annoying when she has the Dancing Blades, because then you are forced to limit the amount of hits you do, because you can't use that second light attack, otherwise she's going to fire the blades. Nefaria really doesn't care though, because his resistances are extremely high. We are 90% Incinerate resistant, and that goes even higher as our just base energy resistance goes up. And then we are entirely immune to Bleed. Normally this is a punishment for Count Nefaria, because if he would be bled, he instead loses charges, but that does not apply to Mystic champions, so you can use him for Hazard Shift with Bleed on it, as long as it's a Mystic and face no punishment. So yeah, this Spiral, she's just going to go down slowly but surely. There is an Equity Mastery on the defenders, I think at least, which is causing the fight to go a little bit slower sometimes, but also we're not utilizing the energy vulnerability until I did there once at the end of the fight, which does significantly increase Nefaria's damage. So now we're going to use Serpent for this Punisher 2099. Serpent's going to do a lot of fights this showcase. If you do not have Serpent, some other good options are Beta Ray Bill, because he has the Grit buff to get around the Decay tactic. And Null is another really good one, because Null just has a bunch of debuffs all the time and doesn't really trigger buffs naturally. But most Cosmics work, because if you can just knock them down to get that slow active, then you're going to be fine. This was unintentional. I didn't mean to push him to Special 3, but also because of the Decay tactic, I'm not going to take any damage from his Disintegration there, because it reduces the potency of damaging effects by 35% per debuff on the opponent, and when you have those withers from making contact with the defender while being a Decay attacker, you're going to have basically 100% resistance at almost all times to damaging effects. So yeah, it just means that Disintegration does nothing and we only take damage from the SP3 itself, which, as you can see here, we're at 87%, so it didn't really change the outcome of the fight much, and that Punisher went down. So now we're on the left side. This is going to be an arcade fight against this Domino. I don't really think you need to have very specific counters to this one, because a lot of the Domino counters that you would normally use are going to be immune to at least one of those debuffs. So pretty much any robot is going to work. Arcade's not a robot, but he has immunity to poison and has ways to get around Domino's kit very easily. A Mega Sentinel, regular Sentinel, Bastion, if you have him, they're all going to work great for this fight. Warlock would do a good job as well. And yeah, it's just like most of the normal Domino counters are going to work fine for this fight. Some of them won't, like Prowler, but I'm sure you have something you can use to get around at least one of the debuffs. You can deal with not being immune to both. As you can see, Arcade's not Cold Snap immune, but it's not going to be that big a deal. In this fight, I do mess up. Yeah, I think that was a big mistake there. I didn't expect that heavy attack to actually connect with me, and then I get some pretty poor Cold Snap RNG right there, but it's fine. And then she's going to evade, I think, my heavy. Yeah, she's going to evade like the first hit after she goes lucky. I'm like, okay, that checks out. But we finished the fight pretty healthy, and that's the only fight I'm going to use Arcade for. However, I probably could have used him for both of the mutants that are on the path still, because he would work for all of them quite well anyway. Alright, now we're going to use Serpent for this Negasonic Teenage Warhead. The reason I'm using Serpent is because eventually, well, two things. He's going to eventually shut off Evade naturally by getting his True Sense buff after Fisticuffs goes away, but also you have Slow from Decay as well to trigger when Fisticuffs goes away too. So if we're just spamming special ones at the start of the fight, then her evade's going to go off I mean, it's going to go on cooldown pretty consistently. And I did mess up, run into a special one earlier in the fight, but everything else is going to go fine after that. We don't have our big Fury at the start of the fight because Fisticuffs got rid of it, but as the fight goes on, Serpent's just going to get stronger and stronger, and his damage is going to start feeling pretty good, especially when Negasonic's health pool is pretty small. So yeah, you can use pretty much any decay attacker for this fight. If you just knock her down at the start of the fight, then she's going to lose her evade, and every time you continue to knock her down, then she's not going to evade anymore. So yeah, she's not really much of a defender. You can't parry her, but you can do a heavy counter with most champs. So she's going to go down right here with the relic, I believe. And my Serpent's at low health, but I don't believe I use him for any more fights on this path. He'll be doing some more work on the next path. So now I'm going to fight this Dazzler. We're going to use Spiral for this fight, however, I think all 4 of my champs would work just fine for this one. I'm using Spiral mainly because she's Falter immune, so if Dazzler does her Dazzling Dash attack, then I'm not going to have to deal with the Falter and I can intercept her freely. However, we're not going to be trying to intercept her that much, and I think I'm going to kill her before she even drops a special attack, if I remember correctly. But let's see. Oh, no, she drops 1, and I believe that's the only special she drops this entire fight. And then I'm going to utilize the Dancing Blades, extend my combo a little bit, go for a very large special 2, and then we're going to go for another special 2 afterwards, which is going to kill Dazzler before she can reach 3 bars. There I did a sidestep intercept because I didn't have the Falter on me to prevent me from being able to do that. And gonna go for the special 2 here, and then Dazzler is just gonna die because we had plenty of ruptures to do plenty of extra damage on the attack, and that was a 46-second fight, so pretty cool. Now we're gonna fight Scream. I think you can use a lot of champs for this one as well. I'm gonna be using Count Nefaria because he abuses Power Snack to his own ability, because when the opponent does a burst of power, like a large burst of power at once, then he's going to trigger his Ionic Overcharge if he is awakened, and then he's going to siphon a lot of that power back to himself, which is super good. So I did not mean to go for a special 2 there, but again, that's part of that power siphoning that I ended up not doing a special 1 like I was planning on. And then also we get a really easy evade counter, because it's really easy to counter Scream special 1 like that, and that's just giving us the energy vulnerability, which is multiplying our damage by a lot. So I'm just going to keep doing that, and then she's going to die really fast once I get to my special 2, which I'm going to do in one more combo right here, and then this just flat out kills her. We got some 53k crits and then a 77k crit. That was a massive special 2, and Scream is down. We're going to move on to fight Serpent here. This is a really nice Spiral fight. You can use most Serpent counters to take this one as long as you are paying attention to the Unstoppable node. Another benefit here is that Spiral is Falter immune, because there is the node that is going to place a Falter on us when one of his buffs expire, and we do not use a special or a heavy during that little timer. But yeah, she's Falter immune, so we don't need to worry about that part. Falter immunity is such a good utility, and I love that she has that. And now Serpent's in the corner. We're just beating him up a bunch, and yeah, that was a lot of damage there. And then I can counter punch with the Unstoppable, go for another special 1, some Power Steal, and this Serpent's absolutely melting. And then all I have to get him to do is strike my block to remove his death immunity, and then he goes down. So that was a 44-second Serpent fight, and yeah, I've seen Ice Fiend do that, I've seen Chavez do that. Like, you can take that fight with a good number of champs. So yeah, and we're gonna fight the boss. I'm gonna use 2 champs for the boss. The first one is going to be Nefaria, and then on my second run I'm going to use Kushala just to try a different champ out. And Nefaria does this fight super well because he's good at fighting Thanos in general, but then once you get the slow from decay, you just stop having to worry about his Unstoppable entirely. So we don't need to worry about him getting 3 counter punch or anything, because he's just never going to go unstoppable as long as I manage my slow well, which is a 12-second slow every time we knock down, so it's pretty easy to manage well. And yeah, we're going to go for a combo here, and then I want to push him into his first protection phase, that way my special 2 will not get capped, which we do right there. And then I'm going to evade into the special 2, and it does plenty of damage, almost pushes him into the next protection phase, and then he is right there. So heavy attack to knock down for another slow, do a couple of those, and I'm probably going to go for another special 1, get some more charges back, and then slow him once again. He is triggering the panic at times, preventing me from doing my nefarious evade and letting me get the energy vulnerability. But we're still doing plenty of damage anyway, so we can deal with that at some points, and it's fine. So yeah, the slow did fall off there, and I didn't recognize he went unstoppable because of it, but we're also extremely tanky and siphoning willpower, so it didn't change the outcome of the fight much. I am pushing him to special 2 here, which is fine because I understand the decks pretty well. I considered full sending, it was just like, it doesn't matter. I'll just bait it out, so I did, and then I went for a heavy that whiffed, but yeah, the end of the fight goes like pretty badly, but it's not that big a deal, because I'm gonna eat a hit or something here as well. Yeah, I went for a heavy. I expected that to connect, but it didn't, but he died anyway, so no big deal. Alright, now we're going to do the right side fights. I'm skipping over all the shared fights except for the boss, because you already saw me do them, and I'd be using the same champs anyway. So we're just going to immediately jump to the right side fights, starting with this Wong here. Wong is not that hard for Nefaria on this node. It's pretty hard for Wong to be difficult for Nefaria in general. But most science champs just do this fight really easily. Like, I'm sure you probably have like Silk or something, or Titania. Like, the decay science pool is pretty busted, pretty OP, and nothing's really stopping you from using them for Wong here. The reason Wong's on this node is because as the amplify goes up from strike counter, that was a missed evade, and that just caused things to spiral a little bit. And then I went to special 3 because he charges heavy. But he's on this node because if he gets those amplify passives, he's going to increase his ability power rate. So when he charges his heavy, it's even more dangerous than it already is. But Nefaria is going to siphon a lot of that power back to himself, which is how we went to special 3 there, which is pretty funny. But he's going to not die there. He's going to die from the special 1 here. And that is Wong. So yeah, if you want to worry about strike counter, like if you want to try to manage the charges a bit more, you can. Otherwise, you just can't let Wong charge a heavy attack, or else that's going to go pretty badly for you. But it also gives you a free invul boost, so even if you eat a special 3, it's not the worst thing in the world. Okay, now we're going to fight this Viv Vision. I do have Vox on my team, however, I wouldn't recommend you bring Vox, because I didn't consider the fact that he isn't a decay attacker and doesn't have the slow, so every time a buff expires on him, it could go badly. So I wouldn't bring Vox again in hindsight. Bit of a mistake of doing that, but it's okay. We can use Serpent for all the fights that Vox would be for anyway. And like I said earlier, if you have Null or Beta Ray Bill, you can do all these fights that Serpent is doing just fine. But I don't have Null ranked up, and my Beta Ray Bill is only rank 2, so I just went with Serpent. If I was doing it for fun, I'd probably bring Bill, but yeah, he's a rank lower, and I think Serpent's probably the better option anyway, so I'll show you guys the best option that I think. And yeah, Viv goes down. Like, there's a power drain node there. She also power drains you in general, but he reduces the potency of that by a good bit, so you can get to your specials pretty well anyway. Now we're going to fight this Sentinel. This fight's really silly. It has Footloose, but if you use the slow from Decay, then you aren't going to need to worry about that. So if you use like any Decay Cosmic Champ that doesn't need to rely on Armor Break, like even Gladiator for an example, then you're going to have a good time for this one, especially with the amount of power you're getting from Rich Get Richer, which most likely Cosmics are going to have a bunch of buffs, so you're probably going to have more than Sentinel is. I threw that special 1 there just so we wouldn't get a bunch of extra charges from his SP2, from me doing double SP2, I mean, And then I realized, like, that doesn't really matter, so I'm just going to spam special 2s for the rest of the fight. It's not worth it, because if he gets his extra charges, it's no big deal anyway. Mostly because he's not really that resistant to any of Serpent's stuff. He does reduce instant burst damages by a good bit, but also I think that's only when analysis is complete, and it never was. I could be entirely wrong there, and I don't entirely know how his burst damage interaction is, but either way he went down to like 50 seconds, so yeah, any Cosmic who's Decay and doesn't need armor break, which there are quite a few there, you'll have a good time for that fight. Next up, we're going to fight this Ebony Maw, which is similar to how Nefaria cheeses Power Snack. He's also just going to do the same thing and cheese Conflictor, which is a little annoying because like he's losing some debuffs, but also we have 19 of the funny things, so it doesn't even matter at all. Like, that's not even remotely annoying. So yeah, this guy is getting completely annihilated. He also had the Wong crossfight at the start, which just gave Nefaria free charges, and yeah, I honestly didn't know that Ebony Maw couldn't be evaded, but apparently he can't, or something, because my evade isn't working, and yeah, I genuinely just didn't even realize that he did that, but we full health it, so who cares, I guess, I don't know. Alright, last fight is going to be against this Deathless Thanos boss, where I'm using Kushala. You can use any non-decay champ for this fight as long as they aren't spamming buffs like constantly, and Kushala doesn't gain any buffs outside of the Dex buff. So you're gonna get the placebo on you from the sugar pill tactic, and the threat of the fight is when one of your buffs expires, because then he has a chance to go unstoppable. So we're just gonna try to not let that happen, which I am gonna get some Furies from the node, and I didn't even realize that until it started happening, so that is going to be a risk that we're going to have to deal with, where once those buffs are nullified, once they expire, he might go unstoppable, but I think that was like the only time it happened, so I just got really lucky. So yeah, I mean, you should probably use any decay champ over like most non-decay champs, but Kushala worked. You're going to see this fight's going to go down even faster than Nefaria did it, because her damage is just extremely good. But there is definitely an added risk of unstoppable triggering, which for me, it's not. I'm just getting really lucky, I think. Like, there it did. But we're still fine. Like, he's burning a lot from those incinerates, and we are going to go for another special one here, place even more incinerates. Now I have 11 passive and 11 debuff. Once that protection goes away, just watch his health bar just get completely melted by them. And I'm going to go for another special one here, which is going to keep pausing them every time doing my special animation. So, another protection here, but he is going to die really fast. I'm going to go for a heavy here, get another blessing. I thought I parried there, but I didn't apparently. And then special 2 coming up, which is going to place a soul barb. And this Thanos is... he's getting cooked, man. He's about dead. And then that is my AW showcase. We're going to open one 7-star basic crystal, just because I used a couple of the tokens that we got for a 7-star basic. And then that's going to be the video. So yeah, this AW showcase was relatively chill compared to some of the more recent ones. I don't like how, like, some of the placements were just like, okay, a lot of this was not stuff that was ever happening in War. They just kind of made them up, but it's fine. It was a fun quest, and a bit of an easier one compared to previous showcases. So if you like that, cool. If you don't, then I can see it being a bit frustrating. But either way, that's the video, guys. I hope this one helped you out, and I'll see you in the next one.